What's up, y'all? And welcome back to Dad Needs to Talk. I'm your host, Robert, and today I'm talking about something a little bit different than a lot of stuff that I've covered here. And this is a series called Villains Are Destined to Die. Now, this is another manhwa slash webtoon um, published, or at least like the physical English editions will be published by Ize Press, which is a imprint of Ize Press for Korean titles. And so this is a little bit more of a, I guess, kind of like a fantasy romance series that I decided to check out. So, and of course, thank you to Ize Press and Idleweiss for giving me a digital review copy. So, shout out to y'all. Now, this one, once again, y'all know I like to try some new stuff every now and then. And of course, as y'all can see, those y'all that either just see the thumbnail art or just the cover art I have here on the screen, if you're watching the video version, the cover is very beautiful and eye catching. And so I was like, okay, what is this? What is going on? Let's take a look. And so essentially, the story of this follows this girl. She's now a young adult going off to college, but she basically kind of grew up in a household where she ended up losing her mother. She had to move in with her father and her two older half brothers, and so had a horrible childhood growing up. Feels like she would have been better off living in an orphanage than in this house with her father and the two brothers. But she worked her butt off. She persevered, and she managed to finally, when she became an adult, move out the house to go off to college and all that stuff, whatever. So she finally found her freedom. Well, of course, she's getting out. She's meeting people, making friends and stuff, whatever. And she ends up hearing a lot of people talking about this game called Daughter of the Duke's Super Love Project. It's the hot new game everybody on campus is talking about. And so she was like, fine, I guess I'll take a look and see what it's about. And so it's basically kind of like a romance visual novel style game where in the easy or the normal mode, you play as this missing daughter named Yvonne who got separated from her family who are royalty when she was young. And then when she became 18, uh, she was rediscovered and then brought back into the family. And so that's like the normal gameplay route is you playing as the daughter who just came of age and is returning home to her family. But if you play on hard mode, you play as the quote unquote villain Penelope, uh, who was brought in as like the kind of like a adoptive replacement of the daughter that went missing all those years ago because she was kind of orphaned, and the Duke ended up coming across her and was stricken by how much she resembled his lost daughter. And so you play as her. Well, through unknown circumstances, one day, our main character, she's played through the game on like the normal mode or whatever, gotten all the secret endings and stuff, whatever. And so she's like, man, I want to play more. Let me try out the hard mode. And she basically just wakes up one day in the game as the villain Penelope, on the harder route. Now this game, it has, like I said, like the game itself is a romance game, so you have like affection meters for the characters, romance and dialogue options. So she has like multiple characters you can try to romance and fall in love with and stuff. But when you're playing on the hard mode, you have to work seemingly twice as hard to make any type of progress with these characters and stuff. And so you make the slightest slip up, you get killed, and it's game over. Well, so she's stuck as this girl Penelope. She has no clue what happened. She literally fell asleep playing the game and woke up and is now playing as the villain, um, Penelope. And so, thus, the true story begins. Because the first chapter of this volume is basically the uh, the prologue and stuff like that. And so, thus, the true story kind of begins. But the thing that kind of is interesting and that sucks at first is that because the game has dialogue options, she can only speak when there is a dialogue option presented to her. And for any of us, that have played any type of game with, whether it's like a romance game, visual novel, or a RPG of some sort that has those dialogue options or whatever, sometimes they're pretty good, and sometimes it's like, man, all these dialogue options suck, and I'm kind of screwed no matter which option I pick. And so that is kind of like her struggle throughout the kind of like beginning of this story. And the interesting thing that eventually happens is that through who knows what means, she ends up meeting certain requirements and completing a hidden quest. And then once she hits that gets that completed quest thing, she ends up getting a prompt to turn off multiple choice options. And once that happens, her flexibility, the story, everything like truly opens up because, like I said, she was stuck in like basically literally a box to where it's like, hey, you can't speak, you can't say nothing, you can't defend yourself, nothing, uh, unless you have these dialogue options pop up. And the other interesting kind of like parallel as well with the game is that she's basically in a similar situation as she was in her real life because, like I said, the character that she's playing as in the game, she's the youngest daughter in the house. She has two older brothers who kind of look down on her. She has a father who kind of, doesn't really care or whatever. And so she's kind of like, man, this is kind of like a parallel of what I went through growing up in my life growing up. And so yeah, so things just get like a little bit more interesting and fluid once she's able to turn off the dialogue options and then she can just speak for herself, and it kind of really starts to open things up for her because she gets asked certain questions or whatever or put in certain situations, and like I said earlier, it's like sometimes like the options that she's given to say, they all suck, and sometimes she only knows, okay, I need to pick option B because when she played the game, she got to this part of the game and she knew, okay, I picked both A and C, and I ended up dying those times. So of the three options, I'm gonna try B, and it's like, okay, but eventually, she starts getting to a point to where now she is encountering new situations, not only because she has new dialogue or she has more freedom of speech, but also because now that she's not really being screwed over by the game, she is actually progressing further than she ever got when she was playing the game. So now she's encountering new scenarios and different things like that. And so yeah, so it's really like I said, like a really interesting story and setup and stuff. And just to show real quick, just like how beautiful the art looks on that, it's like the colors just like all really pop really well. And like I said, it's the coloring and stuff is just very fitting for this being a romance centered series. So yeah, Penelope and her adventures as the quote unquote villain. But it's just interesting just to get to see a better perspective of that character because yeah, the game presents it when you're playing the game, it presents her as this awful villain, but now that she's actually in the game playing as that character, she is starting to get better understanding and insight and connection with the character from, like I said, from her own life that she lived, and she kind of starts to see like no, Penelope isn't really a villain. It's just the way people have treated her and their perspective of her, especially because, she is this, she was a stranger brought into this royal family to replace this lost daughter. And so, different characters have different feelings towards her because of that scenario and stuff. So, but it is just really cool a little bit later on, like I said, when she starts to have like more freedom to speak, just seeing her kind of like really get to um stand up for herself and not no longer take crap from some of these characters and stuff, because some of them was like talking down to her, but like eventually she starts to like put some of these people in their place. Especially that there was like this like one butler, and eventually she's kind of like, hey, have you forgotten that I am the Duke's daughter? You were speaking to royalty. Do not forget your place, type of stuff. And so stuff like that, she kind of starts to command more respect and stuff from these characters and stuff. So, but yeah, but like I said, I really enjoyed this this first volume and stuff, and so I'm definitely interested in checking out more of it and seeing where else this story and stuff goes. Like I said, especially with her now encountering these new scenarios and stuff. So, but yeah, so shout out to Villains Are Destined to Die. That is a very great title for a very beautiful looking series. So, but I believe that is all I have for y'all for this one. Let me just double check. Yeah, I kind of touched on all the main points I wanted to touch on. But yeah, so as always, thank you so much for watching and or listening. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel if you're watching on YouTube, or subscribe or following on whatever podcast service that you choose if you're listening to the audio. And let me know what you think of this title, if you've checked it out yourself, or if anything I said has made you interested in checking it out. And so, yeah, with that said, y'all have an awesome day and or week, and I will catch y'all in the next one. Y'all be easy. Peace.